India is one of the world's largest suppliers of generic drugs, including most of what's sold in the U.S. Some plants meet U.S. standards. Others, though, are filthy, fraudulent, and impossible to trust. There's no way for consumers to know which is which. And investigative reporter Lisa Fletcher discovered the consequences can be deadly.
Sifting through trash, secret travel, and working undercover, former FDA Inspector Peter Baker discovered what no one else saw.
What we found was terrifying.
Indian plants supplying America's medicine were using falsified data and operating in filthy, sometimes hidden sites.
This is called a shadow facility. We will never know about that facility. So they'll make their products over there, and then they'll ship them to what they call a show facility. And on paper, again, it looks like the product was manufactured there and meets a high standard for quality. But in fact, the quality of the product is unknown.
6 years after Baker first exposed those shadow labs, we found they're still operating. Investigators cited Hetero, a major maker of HIV, cancer, and neurological drugs, for running an unregistered testing lab. And somewhere in this village, storing critical ingredients in an undisclosed warehouse. When FDA inspectors arrived, workers ran and locked the gates, refusing entry for 2 hours.
What do you think would provoke the kind of response that workers would lock the gates and literally run away?
What they had is likely storage of products that were bound for export to the U.S. in storage. So during those 2 hours, what they'll do is they'll try their best to get those out through the back door, and so that the investigators can understand or document the true scope of the problem of which they are uncovering.
A recent groundbreaking study traced drugs to their source and found a 54% higher rate of severe adverse events, including hospitalization, disability, and death tied to India-made drugs. We've been tracking the global consequences. In just 3 years, more than 100 children in Africa, Uzbekistan, and India died from cough syrup tainted with antifreeze, all made by Indian companies. We found FDA warnings to Indian companies, including Global Pharma, noting plans to export children's medication with a high risk of contamination. The FDA was on the ground not because of the cough syrup, but because of another deadly crisis unfolding in America, a different product made in the same building.
She said, "You have an ulcer on your eye, that if we don't get this under control, you will lose all your vision."
In 2023, 4 people died, and more than 100 were injured by contaminated eye drops made in India.
I would think I could trust them to make sure I'm not going to be hurt by something they bring in from overseas.
And it isn't just one company. Last year, Glenmark saw a massive recall of its blood pressure pills that were supposed to be extended release, but dumped the dose too quickly. At least 8 deaths have been reported to the FDA citing those pills, including Mary Louise Cormier of Maine. Months later, inspectors flagged contamination risk at the same plant. Only after those deaths and FDA inspection did the company recall 39 more drugs from U.S. shelves, from acetaminophen to seizure and blood pressure medication, all from the same facility.
For every violation that an inspector catches, how many do you think go unaddressed?
That's hundreds. The investigator may just see what is the tip of an iceberg. What's under the water is, of course, unknown.
A system built for cheap medicine that's costing far more than we think. We contacted the drug makers. Global Pharma and Glenmark did not respond. Glenmark has denied responsibility for any deaths in its court filings. Hetero Labs told us it's working with the FDA to address the problems found. To read the full responses, go to spotlightinvestigates.com. For Spotlight on America, I'm Lisa Fletcher.